Recidivism rates in Delaware show 76% of ex-offenders are rearrested 3 years after they get out. A reentry simulation at Delaware State University gave state lawmakers, police officers, and members of the criminal justice community a chance to see for themselves why that number is so high. We walk you through the eye-opening simulation in this week's First Look.
Your 15 minutes, first week begins now.
Elected leaders, police officers, even this reporter took on new identities to walk a mile in a newly released prisoner's shoes. During the hour-long simulation, we were required to do things like get a photo ID, check in with your probation officer, and get a job. Sounds easy, but it wasn't.
I need a bus ticket.
When you don't have a car or any money because you can't get a job without an ID, the frustration was overwhelming. State Representative Pete Schwarzkopf made it to week 3 before getting tossed in jail, along with 2/3 of the group taking part in the simulation.
When you're going to let somebody back out, you've got to give them the tools to help them to succeed. And we as a state can do that. Make sure they have the ID. That's the biggest thing coming out. Right off the bat, you're tripped right off the bat. So how do you compete in the 100-yard dash when you trip over the first obstacle?
Brady Muhammad says the simulation got it right. He shared with the group how after serving 13 years for robbery, he was lost when he got out, figuratively and literally.
For me, the amount of time that I spent in prison, a lot of things had changed in Wilmington. So I wasn't quite sure where this was at, where that's at, what bus to get on. So I really had to start over.
Project New Start helped Muhammad find his way. The intense 10-week job readiness program in Claymont helps people transition out of prison.
They taught me how to conduct myself in an interview, how to use a computer, which I had no computer skills. So that in itself was very helpful. When it was time for me to get my license, they helped with paying the monies that I need to get my license.
They're coming out with either no education, limited skills, no work history, a criminal record, lack of support, and lack of documents to help them go to work. And also, they have addictions, they may have learning disabilities, they don't have access to transportation. So all of those are significant barriers.
Barriers that Turgan says have contributed to Delaware's alarming recidivism rate. Statistics show of the roughly 1,000 prisoners released each year in Delaware, about 600 are likely to go back to jail. Project New Start partners with various employers and in its 4 years has had 80 students. Of those, 52 graduated, 49 are working, and only 10 have gone back to jail.
So at the cost of $36,000 a year to keep somebody in prison, even a small program like ours, the impact is for 4 years, saving the state of Delaware approximately $1.5 million a year.
Muhammad, who now works with the city of Wilmington, is among Turgan's success stories, as is Sebastian Corbin. The 50-year-old was in and out of prison 3 times for assault and armed robbery. He was trapped on the merry-go-round.
You can't get employment, you can't be picked up. You tend to revert back to what it is that you know how to do to get money fast, so you'll be able to survive.
But this time, it's different. Corbin, who now works for Owen Steel in the city, says he's older and more mature. Project New Start also helped change the way he thinks. Turgan says Project New Start is the only reentry program in the state that makes the Alternatives to Violence program, or AVP, part of the curriculum. She says her students love it.
It's just different ways to handle problems, to handle trauma, to handle your anger, to handle conflict.
Research has shown AVP participants recidivate less compared to other inmates after release. And to build on that, Turgan added mindfulness and meditation training to drive it all home.
And the hope is that you just stop the cycle. And we have to try and stop the cycle one person at a time. It's just that simple.
There are 6 students in the home stretch of Turgan's current program. Malik Harper and David Williams are among them. Both in their 20s, they have a lot of life they want to live.
I'm so glad that I signed up. It's been the most beneficial program probably I've taken in my life. They let you know it's not going to be a cakewalk, and they have great partners who are willing to give us a second chance, when we get back out there.
I'm going to do what I have to do to be successful and stay on the right path. So wherever objects that come through my way, I'm going to conquer them and stay focused on the bigger picture in life.
Ending the cycle and hopefully starting a positive ripple effect within their families and their communities.
The Delaware House Democratic Caucus co-hosted the reentry simulation with the U.S. Attorney's Office and Delaware State University. Joining me now is Sam Lukoff, a public defender in Delaware who also worked as a prosecutor in the AG's office. Sam, good to have you here.
Hi, thank you for having me.
When I went through the simulation, I got totally overwhelmed and I quit in the first week.
So hard.
You know, why? This is not an option in real life.
No.
So then why does it seem like the system for reentry is set up for ex-offenders to fail? Because I know that's not the intention.
No, obviously we would think that the intention would be for everyone to be successful, but I think that people who sort of set up the system didn't take into consideration how difficult it is for people without means, people without education, people without job experience, who commit crimes when they're young, are imprisoned for a long period of time, or even for a short period of time, for goodness sakes, but long enough so that they're, again, out of the community, not getting educated, not working on job skills, and then they have to come back into the community, and to say it's a challenge is an understatement.
So they're assuming they have more support, more resources than they actually have.
Exactly, exactly. And usually, and as a public defender, we get to know our clients pretty well and the communities that they come from. And these are communities with less resources than other communities, and again, less jobs. The schools aren't great. There's often violence in these communities, so it absolutely sets it up to be very, very difficult for our clients to get back in.
Given your experience as a prosecutor, can you see it from the other side of it? Like the inconvenience, the difficulty of it is a consequence of having made bad choices?
Absolutely. So I was a prosecutor for the first 4 years of my career, mainly in juvenile justice, but also with adults. I was the DOI prosecutor for a while. And I absolutely understand the issue of public safety and that we need communities to be safe and people to feel safe and to have our victims feel like they have been compensated in some way. But in reality, communities are safer when people who come back into the communities, again, these reentering citizens, when they have jobs, when they're able to be productive members, pay taxes, and they're not then going to want to or need to commit crime in order to sustain themselves or their families.
Priscilla Turgan, the CEO of Project New Start for My Story, says that she has a tough time raising funds because the organization is not helping victims, they're helping perpetrators. Why should we help the ex-offenders? I mean, you kind of touched on it just now.
So honestly, it's almost like a selfish thing, and I work with Priscilla closely and love her to death. But she's right. It has been difficult to raise funds because people don't understand that it's actually beneficial to all of us in the community. Not only when we get returning citizens back into the job force, they're going to be not committing crimes, they're going to be paying taxes, which is great for obviously our tax base, our schools, et cetera. But we then don't have to pay taxes for them. When someone is sent to prison, our tax dollars pay for that. So when we have a returning citizen who's able to get a job, and again, not only are they paying into the taxes, but we are also not committing our taxes to pay for them to be in prison. So selfishly, it's a good thing to support these kinds of programs.
Okay, now Project New Start, the organization, it receives state money, grants, individual donations, and you can help at project-new-start.org. Sam Lukoff, an attorney in Delaware's Office of Defense Services, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.